Order for this 10th of April meeting. Spring is here and vacation for all our students and the teachers and staff is just around the corner, and I know they're looking quite forward to that. But we're glad you're here, and we look forward to the honors and recs coming up here shortly. We'd like to recognize Barbara Armstrong. She's actually going to have a part in the Barbara, right over here if you'd stand. Barbara is the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and it certainly is bringing new energy and leadership to the chamber, and one of our most important supporters. So we appreciate it very much. But Barbara's going to be part of the program a little bit later here. Thank you for being here. Next item on the agenda is the invocation for the board. Tonight, I turn that over to Mr. Tim Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, as we finish up this week before spring break, and I know the kids are excited, and probably the teachers are excited too. But certainly we want to wish, as a board, everyone to have a safe spring break, and whether your spring break means that you're going to go off somewhere or you're going to stay at home. So right now, I'd like to have just a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Next on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have two students from Granite Falls Middle School. They are members of the student council there. Rachel Krippner, 7th grade. She's the vice president of the student council, and her parents are George and Donna Krippner. And we also have Will Connor. He's a 7th grader and homeroom representative, and his parents are David and Rebecca Connor. So if everyone will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rachel and Will, for being here tonight. We appreciate that. Next is the approval of the agenda. Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion we approve the agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And motion passes. Next, we have approval of the minutes. And we had two sets of minutes. On March the 13th, we had a spring work session, and we also had a regular session that day as well. So the board's had an opportunity to review those two sets for March 13th. Do I hear a motion we approve those minutes?
I'll make the motion we approve the minutes of the March 13th work session and regular session.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is on March 20th, we did our board walkthrough. We visited 8 or 9 schools that day. And at the end, we had a board meeting. We invited public comment. So we have minutes from that meeting. Do I hear a motion that we approve the meetings of the public comment period during our board walkthrough on March 20th?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the minutes from the board walkthrough on March the 20th as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And motion passes. Next is public comment, and as of 4:30 this afternoon, we had no public comment, so we'll move along to the honors and recognitions. Oh, well, let me do the announcements first here. About to skip over that. This Wednesday at the Civic Center at 11:30, we will be honoring the Volunteer of the Year. So that is going to be a very important event. We appreciate all the volunteers in Caldwell County. On April the 23rd through 25th, Advanced Ed, many of you probably remember it as the Southern Association. now it's called Advanced Ed. They're going to be here to evaluate our school system. They're going to be here for 3 days. And then on that, the 26th, we're going to have a special board meeting here at 1:30 to hear their report back concerning our school system. So we look forward to that. On the 28th of April, we have middle school and high school Special Olympics, a very important, I know many of us on the board have opportunity to go there on occasion, and it's always thrilling to go to this event, and that's going to be on April the 28th at 9:30. April 29th, Google Gravity Games. If you've ever been to it, you know how much fun that can be. So that is on the 29th of April, downtown Lenoir, starting at about 8:30. Our next board meeting is going to be on May the 8th. And let me just mention one other thing, and that is on May 19th. I know we'll have another board meeting between now and then, but just to be thinking about it, we're going to have Taste of Caldwell, which is a Communities in School, CIS, event to raise money for CIS. So it's a great event as well, because many of the restaurants and other vendors around the county for various food types and so forth will be there, and it's a great event and a great way to support Communities in School. Okay, now we're going to do the honors and recognitions.
Mr. Chair, is April 25th a community input meeting? Is that still scheduled?
We have not formally scheduled
We're
it
not.
for Granite Falls yet.
Okay.
Yeah. We, have we formally scheduled it, Jeff? Yeah.
Okay.
We'll let you know.
We received one
Yeah.
email. Okay. Okay.
We're trying to work with the architect and the school to find
Okay.
space.
And that meeting was originally going to be held in March. Mr. Chair, I wonder if we could entertain amending the agenda to delay naming the site for Granite Falls Middle School until after the community input meeting. That community input came up as part of discussion when we met with the county, and there was back and forth discussion about site. And if we truly want input, it might make sense to delay that. Can I put that in the form of a motion that we amend the agenda?
Well, we've already approved the agenda. Is there,
And you're thinking of the public meeting?
Yes, yes. The minutes from that October meeting with the county, there was back and forth discussion about the site, and then someone asked if we plan to have community meeting, and we said yes, and that would be a fabulous place to get input from the people. Even if we end up doing what we think we're going to do, I think it's empowering to let people be a part of that decision and buy in. And this morning at the meeting with the accreditation visit, stakeholder input is an important area for us to be working on.
Well, we'd have to amend the agenda, so
Yeah,
that would
we
require a
would.
vote.
Yes, I
Yeah.
make a motion that we amend the agenda and
We've already approved the
delay that.
Mr. Blair, what would be the appropriate procedure at this point?
I don't think it's necessary to amend the agenda. I think you can take up the motion without.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Well, I can kind of see where Mrs. Branch is coming from. If we go ahead and make the decision, then a community meeting becomes a moot point as far as location goes. Yeah.
Right, but that's really not the purpose of the
That's not
community
the
meeting.
purpose of it.
Right, the purpose of the community meeting was to get feedback from the Granite Falls community about what they would like to see in a school. You know, we certainly don't, we want to be transparent, but when we go into it with an option that we only have one option that we can financially support, I think it would be misleading to the Granite Falls community for us to say, hey, what do you think about this other option? So, I mean, that's the purpose of, for me, the community meeting is to share with Granite Falls what we're thinking, to share the architects, and to kind of get a feel for them about what they would like in a building. It's really not to choose the site, because financially we can't afford only one site. So it'd be kind of misleading to the community for us to go down and even have that conversation.
But still, to be a part of that decision might be valuable for input and ownership of the decision, to have all those facts.
And what, we did say at that meeting that we wanted to have community involvement and input, and that's something that came up today when we had our meeting. So I do think it's important to be able to present that to the community and hear what anyone would like to say. I think that's important for our board.
Well, I think as Dr. Stone has indicated, that, you know, we do want the input of the community.
Absolutely.
But there's only one option for to build that school. I don't, you know, there's not anywhere else to build the school with the finances that we have. That's the key thing. The meeting is for feedback about the location, meet the architects, talk about some of the things that maybe the community would like to see in the building, and just to familiarize themselves with the plan. But any other discussion?
Let me ask you this, would it be prudent then for us to go ahead and name the location tonight so we can actually start moving forward in that direction?
And that's part of.
That's part of the agenda.
Right.
Yeah.
Would it be prudent, in other words,
Oh, yeah,
instead of delaying that decision for a month?
I think we don't have any choice but where we're gonna place it, if we could get the funding.
Yeah, if we can get the funding, there's, I think, only one option. Only one option. Any other discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. No. And the noes have it, 4-3. So we'll move on with the agenda here. And that is to do our honors and recognitions. And Libby Brown, Community Relations Director, will come forward and introduce these people on the board to come down and congratulate these winners.
Good evening, Chairman Pennell, board members, Dr. Stone. It is always a pleasure and a joy to display student artwork in the Education Center Art Gallery. And parents, you are always invited back to return and to really enjoy your students' artwork because it will be on display until May 8th. So welcome again, and it's our pleasure to recognize our budding artists in the Caldwell County Schools. We are going to start with Happy Valley School, and the principal is Meredith Griffin, and the art teacher is Melissa Jaroszewski. Okay, so Melissa's here, and we have her students with us this evening. Brody Pope, second grader. Is Brody with us this evening? Lillian Simmons, kindergarten student. Yes. Tanner Spencer, third grader, Happy Valley School. Yes, and please look at their beautiful artwork on both the screens here in front of you, behind you. Maggie Taylor, fifth grader, Happy Valley School. She's not here, okay. And Madison Watson. Madison is a fourth grader. So is Madison here this evening? Okay. Miss J? Miss Jaroszewski, if you'd like to come up. So, would you like to add one more school? Okay. Let's go also with Kings Creek School, and Jenny McNulty is principal, and Lydia Stewart is the art teacher. Fifth grader, Annalisa DeHeves, and she is here with us from Kings Creek School. So, Annalisa. Kim Gatlin. Kim Gatlin is also a 5th grader at Kings Creek School. Addie Harold. Addie is a kindergarten student at Kings Creek School. Daisy Murillo. Daisy is a 1st grader. And Madeline Parsons. Madeline is an 8th grader at Kings Creek School. So Madeline, if you'd like to join us. Okay, and let's see, the art teacher, Lydia Stewart. If Ms. Stewart would like to join us. Yes. And now it's photo time. So we have students here for you to grab their photograph.
Ms. Stewart, come on up.
Our great artists. And for our last school today, we are featuring Oak Hill School. And Chris Ackerman is the principal, and Lydia Stewart is also the art teacher at Oak Hill. So we have Gage Hoyle, 1st grade. Gage, okay. Taylor Hudson, 1st grade. Taylor. Kayla McGee. Kayla is 2nd grade, right here on the front row. Jorianne Sparks, 1st grade. Jorianne. Okay. Is Jorianne here? And our final student for this evening, Jacob Thornburg. He's also 1st grader at Oak Hill School. So, Jacob is here. So, Mr. Ackerman or Ms. Stewart, if you'd like to come back up with your art students. Okay.
Stewart does double duty.
Yes, she does.
Congratulations.
Thank you, artists. Okay. This summer, 670 of North Carolina's most academically gifted rising high school seniors will explore cutting-edge ideas and concepts in academics and the arts as part of the 2017 session of the North Carolina Governor's School. Over 1,800 applications were considered for the 2017 session, which runs from June 18th to July 26th. 3 students from Caldwell County have been selected for this prestigious honor, starting with Laurel Crisp, daughter of Amanda Crisp and Larry Crisp. Laurel, is Laurel here this evening? She's not here this evening. Okay. Fiona Doherty, daughter of William and Jill Doherty. So, Fiona with us. And Benjamin Masters, son of David and Tricia Masters, will represent the Caldwell County School District. All are students who attend South Caldwell High School. So Mr. Chad Davis, it's going to be a busy evening for you this evening. He's the principal. I'm sorry, Chad Smith. I've done that before. Chad Smith, come on up. Would you like to join your students? Governor's School is located on 2 campuses. Governor's School West is served by Salem College in Winston-Salem, and Governor's School East is served by Meredith College in Raleigh. Laurel Crisp will be attending Governor's School East and will study English, and Fiona Doherty will be attending Governor's School West and will study Natural Science, and Benjamin Masters will be attending Governor's School East and will study Mathematics. Dr. Phyllis Blair is the district-wide director of our AIG program, and again, Chad Smith is principal of South Caldwell High School, and I know he's very proud of these students, as we are of you. So you're going to have an exciting summer. Congratulations to Fiona and Phil. Mr. Smith, you may as well just stay up there. Okay. South Caldwell High School Future Business Leaders of America demonstrated their competitive spirit during the FBLA Leadership Conference and achieved success with 7 top 10 finishers and an invitation to compete at the national conference. Students placing in the top 10 included Kirkland Dula in word processing. So, is he with us this evening?
If you're here, come on up.
Yeah, if you're here, come on up. Jack Reichling, Insurance and Risk Management. Yazabella Villacourt, Introduction to Business Communications. And Amanda Weinbarger and Macy King, Hospitality Management. Okay. Amanda's with us. And South Caldwell High School senior Danielle Berry was the recipient of the FBLA Professional Division Scholarship totaling $4,998. She and Amanda placed 3rd. She and Amanda placed 3rd in the t-shirt design, and Daniela Berry and Alex Murphy, and I'm not sure if he is here this evening, Mr. Murphy, placed 2nd in marketing to qualify for the National Leadership Conference. Our FBLA sponsors are Gina Kincaid and Lenora Chase. So if you're here, teachers, you're hiding.
Yeah, they're both here.
Come on and join your students. Yes, so come join us. So we're very proud of our future business leaders. Yes, congratulations. Mr. Smith, just stick around. Okay. Thank you. High school bands performed in superior fashion at the 2017 MPA event, which is the only state-sanctioned event that provides a summative standards-based assessment designed to measure student performance as related to the goals, objectives, and grade level competencies specified in the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. So we are happy tonight to congratulate our band and chorus programs throughout the district that received superior ratings at the MPA event in March. Okay. So since Mr. Smith is still with us, we'll start with South Caldwell. And South Caldwell Wind Ensemble, South Caldwell Symphonic Band, South Caldwell Concert Band, 3 superior ratings directed by Jason Childers. We also also have Alice Robson with us this evening. She's the choir director. And the Honors Ensemble and Combined Women's Choir Superior. So congratulations to Alice. And I regret to report this is probably her last board meeting. Oh, no. She is retiring, and but she goes out in just glory. She has 57 superior ratings at South Caldwell High School. High Brighton High School, David Caldwell's the principal, and High Brighton High Symphonic Band, directed by Hunter Suits, received a superior rating. Is Mr. Suits here? Oh, he is. Great. And Alyssa Lowe, the choir director, or chorus director at High Brighton High School Chorus 2 and Concert Choir Honors Ensemble, received a superior rating at MPA. So you could have picked that up for her. Okay. And then West Caldwell High School. We're not going to leave out West Caldwell High School. Principal is Andy Poole. The West Caldwell Symphonic Band, directed by Jonathan Staffer. Superior rating. So welcome to Mr. Staffer. Congratulations. And the West Caldwell High School Mixed Choir and Women's Chamber Choir, directed by Bethany Wolf. And so I'm not sure if she's with us this evening. Is she? Mr. Wolf, I don't see her. Okay. That's a lot of superior ratings, isn't it? So let's just give them. Congratulations. Yes. For you guys. Okay. So, it wasn't too hot in the kitchen for the South Caldwell High School culinary team. Okay. They placed first at the 2017 North Carolina Pro Start Invitational. The North Carolina Pro Start Invitational is a 2-day secondary school competition focused on restaurant management and culinary arts. The culinary competition highlights each team's creative cooking abilities without access to running water or electricity. And there is no room for error as they are evaluated on taste, skill, teamwork, safety, and sanitation. So, with all that in mind, we have the top team in North Carolina with us this evening. So it is an honor to introduce the South Caldwell culinary team members, starting with Ben Byerly. Aaron Lambert. Kaylee Spake. Landon Powell. And Brandon Meelam. Is it Milam? I know. I'm so impressed with this team. Each student was awarded approximately $20,000 in scholarships and a Mercer Chef's Knife. As state winners, they are competing in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm not sure if you've already gone to competition, have you? When is your competition? It's this month, right? April 28th. So we wish you the best of luck. And this is sponsored by Golden Corral, so they're helping to provide their transportation, their lodging, their uniforms, and their products. So thank you to our local business partner. And we can't do this without Donna Rudisell. So is Donna here? So come on, Donna. Donna Rudisell is our family and consumer science teacher at South Caldwell High School. And I know, Chad Smith, I know you're proud of these students. This is your night and your teacher. So congratulations. We're so proud.
Really can't do it.
Yes, so it's picture time. Yes, thank you. All right. Gonna do something a little different that we haven't done before. This is our first recognition for the Caldwell County Schools 4th grade Poet Laureate. And Julia Taylor Ebel visited our 4th graders in the Caldwell County Schools as our featured Little Read author this year and actually last year as well, because of her personal experiences interwoven in her free verse poetry book, Dresses, Dreams, and Beadwood Leaves. We wanted to bring poetry to the forefront and inspire 4th graders to participate in the first annual Caldwell County Schools 4th grade Poet Laureate. Part of the reading standards in the 4th grade standard course of study covers the depth and complexities of poetry. During the author's presentation, she included the elements of the book, the process of researching, writing, editing, and illustrating, and the importance of keeping stories. In addition to the author sharing her experiences in writing, she also shared her love of poetry, and the entries for the contest came pouring in. Mrs. Ebel evaluated the entries and has selected the first district-wide 4th grade Poet Laureate in the Caldwell County school system. And how fitting to do this month, because this is National Poetry Month. So I would like to introduce our Little Read author, Mrs. Julia Ebel, and she is going to announce the winner of our 4th grade Poet Laureate contest.
First, I want to say what an honor and an absolute delight it was to return to Caldwell County again this year as a Little Read author. You have some wonderful 4th grade students. I have enjoyed every one of them. I was given the task of selecting the winner for this, the Poet Laureate for your 4th grade. I enjoyed reading all the poems, but there was one that stood out, and I'm going to have to read this. It's called Evie Verse. I'll run around the universe, or should I say, Evie Verse. It's filled with kindness and love for all who care, with hugs and blankets and no homework. There is no sadness in this world, just love and hugs and puppies. No boys to bother the girls. And when it rains cookies and even some milk. And if that doesn't put a smile on your face, the writer of that, the young poet and young poet laureate, is Evie Elkins from Valmead Elementary School. And along with that certificate and medal, she will be receiving her own signed copy of Dresses, Dreams, and Beadwood Leaves, which is the Little Read book.
So now Caldwell County has a Poet Laureate.
We do.
Not many counties have that. So
No.
you've got a lot, you got big shoes.
Get
Come around here.
It's okay.
You need to go down a little bit.
And then get in the center for this one, Evie. And Carol Sturgis, the principal, is here. Carol, do you want to join us? Please join us. From Valmead, you thought you got out of that, didn't you? And is Mary Harmon here with us this evening? That's her English language arts teacher at Valmead. Very excited. And board members, for National Poetry Month, you each have a copy of Mrs. Ebel's other poetry book, Mama's Reads.
Mama?
Yes, that compliments.
Thank you, Mrs. Ebel, for being here tonight. We appreciate your presence with us. We're going to proceed with our business session. This would be an appropriate time if you have homework to do or dinner to eat. But you're welcome to stay, and we appreciate you being here tonight.
I just love how they dress up to come down here. They're so cute.
I got the one, the Reed's dresses. Yeah, I got the Reed.
Okay, we're going to continue on with the meeting. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Steve Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and thank you, public, for being here. Have a great Easter. We're glad you came. Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to call Mrs. Barbara Armstrong to the podium. Barbara is new with the chamber. I think you've been there less than
6 months,
6 months,
since September 1st.
and has really brought some new energy to the Chamber of Commerce, and we're delighted that they are such a wonderful partner with Caldwell County Schools. So I wanted you to meet Ms. Armstrong, and I wanted her to have an opportunity to meet you as well formally and to have a few comments about the Chamber and some of the exciting things the Chamber's doing.
Absolutely. Well, you all just made my day with this presentation. I'll have to tell you, you never cease to impress me with the Caldwell County Schools. And, prior to coming to the Chamber in Caldwell County, as most of you know, I live in Boone. Caldwell was just a pass-through for me on my way to Charlotte or to Florida, and I never knew what a gem there is here, and you all have captured my heart. Aside from everything else, what I am most impressed with about Caldwell County is Caldwell County Schools, and I am not exaggerating. It is the truth. This is my third chamber that I've worked with and have been involved with, and no one holds a candle to what you all do here in Caldwell County. I am just so honored to be a part, also to have you all as a partner with the chamber. I'm really looking forward to being a part of the advanced ed, partnering with you on that. And to let you know, this last weekend, I interviewed a young lady who went through Caldwell County Schools and went through early college and is at UNC, and she's going to be interning with us this summer. And just as a testimony to you, I've had interns before and grad students, and we have a young lady who's working with us at the chamber now, and I've never had finer individuals to work with than what you all have had come out of your school system. So I'm just really excited to getting to know each and every one of you better, how we can be a better partner with the schools and with our community. And so with that being said, it's an honor for me to be here, and you all just made my day with all the children. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Caldwell County.
Thank you.
And I told you that you could go ahead and leave because I know you've got to go up the mountain, so we'll see you sometime this week.
Absolutely, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have two board policies tonight for a final vote. They've been up for the 30-day comment periods. We've received no comments on either one of them. I think in your packet you may have one that we've already done, and that one has to do, if I'm following Dwayne, it looks like board policy 6125. You approved that last month, so we don't need to do that one. So just go down to the next one, which is, I'm sorry, 6125 is the one which is administering medicine. So we do need to do that one, but the one about gifts to the system is not up for tonight. It's already been completed. 6125 deals with the self-administration of medicine. This is in some suggestions and recommendations made by the North Carolina School Boards Association, recognizing that certain students are capable of administering their own medicine and giving them the opportunity to do that, because we have traditionally had a very tight lid on who can administer medicine. So it's all spelled out in the board policy. Would like to recommend approval of board policy 6125.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the changes in policy code 6125, administering medicines to students.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
Thank you. Is there any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And motion passes.
Thank you, board members. The second policy is 7100, the recruitment and selection of personnel. And basically the change of this is on page 3, where we have taken out a complete listing of things traditionally that have been in there. And so now if they complete the I-9 form, it takes care of all the requirements for employment for us. So we'd like to recommend approval of board policy 7100. And again, no public comment. And this is to kind of streamline the policy.
Do I hear a motion that we approve board policy 7100, recruitment and selection of personnel?
I'll make the motion we approve the change in policy 7100.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And motion passes. Anything else, Dr. Stone?
Oh, that's it for me right now.
All right. We're going to move on to Dr. Trish Johnson, Associate Superintendent for Human Resource Services.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Stone, I have 3 items for your attention this evening, beginning with Exhibit 4. Exhibit 4 just includes usual and customary items presented for your attention, requiring no action. Exhibit 5 includes usual and customary personnel items presented that require approval. I respectfully recommend approval of these items as they have been presented to you.
Do I hear a motion that we approve the usual and customary personnel matters as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the usual and customary personnel matters as presented.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And motion passes.
And the last exhibit that I have for you this evening, Exhibit 6, student transfers. Since your last board meeting, we received a total of 19 student transfer requests. Of the 19 requests received, 14 of those meet established board criteria. Therefore, we're recommending approval of those 14 transfer requests. If approved this evening, that brings the total transfers approved for the 2016-17 school year to 625. I respectfully recommend approval of the student transfer requests as presented.
Do I hear a motion that we approve the 2016-17 student transfers as Dr. Johnson has presented them?
I'll make a motion we approve the 2016-17 student transfer as presented.
Second.
Any comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you,
Thank
Dr. Johnson. Appreciate it. Next, we'd like to recognize Associate Superintendent Dr. Carol Burns, Educational Program Services.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Stone.
first item I have for you is ask for the approval of the school improvement plans. These have to be approved by you on a yearly basis. Generally, they are a 2-year plan. You received these earlier, but we did explain to you that they're continuous now. So if you asked for a copy of these in several months, they would be changed a little bit, but we have tried to explain to you that we have worked to get them on a plan whereby improvement doesn't take place once a year, but on a daily basis within the individual schools. I hope you had time to take a look at them and see these are what we call SMART goals. They're very well put together. Mr. Peak has worked closely with them this year in developing these plans, and we monitor them. So we respectfully request that you approve the school improvement plans as presented to you.
Do I hear a motion that we approve the school improvement plans as presented?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the school improvement plans as presented.
Is there a second? Any comments or questions? I noticed that there were a lot of common indicators in a number of the plans.
Good.
But it appeared obviously that they were tailored for that particular school, and they did a very fine job, and your staff always do a great job in getting this together.
We
So
did
thank you.
ask them to look at the first 12, which are key indicators, so they worked on those diligently first. So that's why you're seeing some commonality, which is good.
Very good. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And motion passes.
Thank you. The next item we have for you is to ask for your approval of alternate assessments for the Read to Achieve program. As you're aware, if the students do not reach the, as we would say, pass, the third grade end of grade test, there are several assessments that they can take. As a good cause exemption, they are able to go on without having to go to the summer program and the summer camps. Those are assessments that are approved by the state. We have 3 that we would like to use. 2 of them we have used before. Those are indicated to you as level P on the reading, 3D, text reading comprehension, and achieve a Lexile level of 725 on Imagine Learning Language and Literacy, or achieve a Lexile level of 725 on the STAR Reading. The Lexile level refers to the difficulty of the passages that the students read and work with. 725 equates to about what a third grader would do at the end of the year. We respectfully request that you approve these 3. They're already approved by the state, but we cannot use them unless you also approve them. And Dr. Widener's here, and she'll answer all the questions that come from this section. We all deal with it, but she has to be the authority on it.
Do I hear a motion that we approve the alternative assessment proposal under General Assembly's Read to Achieve?
Read to Achieve.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the Read to Achieve local alternate assessment as presented tonight.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Burns.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call on Dr. Jeff Church, Associate Superintendent for Auxiliary Services.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Stone, I have 3 items under my section. The first is administration requests to declare school property, the former Horizons building, as surplus.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we declare the former Horizons building in Hudson as surplus.
Is there a second?
Second.
May we have discussion?
Yes, after we have a second, it's open for discussion. Any comments, questions?
I have a question. Help me understand where we are with this, because last fall, we received recommendation from the administration that we wanted to move Gateway to the old Horizons building, and that was last fall. There was even discussion about could it happen at Christmas. No, it couldn't happen at Christmas, but it's gonna happen in the summer. And then, wham, January got here, and everything had changed. And I don't understand what changed as far as making educational decisions that are best for those kids at Gateway. What changed?
Dr. Church? you have any-
Keeping Gateway where it is at the current location with this other building is in the best interest, according, for administration, is in the best interest for the students. If you look at the square footage of the two buildings, and if you incorporate, it looks like it's real close to the same, but it's about 3,800 square feet less, the Horizons building. The current plan to move Gateway into the current Horizons building also utilizes 2 classrooms that are in the gym. They would be going from a full-size gym down to a 3/4 gym, and administration cannot recommend, you know how high school students are in gyms and the reverberation in the gyms, and the space is not there.
But it seemed to be the best thing since sliced bread back last fall, and we were gonna save over $30,000 in transportation every single year. And then all of a sudden, January came, and it's on the agenda to get rid of the building.
I would like to add that I would respectfully ask for consideration for the impact that this has on students. I'm new, and I've had to spend more time trying to find out and get information than many of you here. And so I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. But it's very close to me that we have homeless students, and I'm very passionate about the fact that I learned that there was a student who rides the bus for, and I don't want to say this incorrectly, for, and I have the number of minutes here, 100 and some minutes each way back and forth, and that doesn't count the shuttle time. And I'm passionate about the program that we have to offer for these students, and the fact that they could be consolidated with the day treatment, which I want to thank you, Dr. Church, and I want to thank you to Ms. Darcy and for Mr. Knight for going with me and taking me to tour the facility. I know that took a lot of your time that you probably didn't have, and I appreciate it, and thank you, sir. But I'm passionate about what we're trying to do for our students. And when students are spending this amount of time in transportation, when they could be centrally located. And in addition to that, some of the other points that were brought to our attention is that principal, and those of us who've been principals realize how important it is when you're responsible for students in the day treatment building, and you need to be at the building where the current Gateway is located. Some of the other facts that I have uncovered and that we were told is that the radio reception and the phone cell service in that building is unreliable. However, it would be reliable if it were housed at the Hudson site. So I feel like the other fact that was really impressive to me is that there is a total of 230 hours less instruction going on for these children who are so vulnerable and who so need us because of the transportation time there and back. There are 13 actual points, and of those points, one of them, another one that I need to mention is that Gateway is so spread out and so isolated, and that I feel Horizons would be easier to manage, particularly if I were the principal there. And I can't forget our parents because parents are so key to what we do. And the parent is required to participate in the program, and it's very difficult to get them that far out. In addition, those of us who have written IEPs know how important it is that we have that parent there, and we're also required to have a teacher. And it's very difficult for him, as I understand, to get a teacher there. He has to bring them from somewhere else. So it just seems to me like, and I wasn't privy to the previous conversations, and so, and it's hard to do, but it seems someone had a great idea in the previous conversations. And my focus and my interest is faced with what are we doing for these children? If they're already having these many strikes against them, then how can we do that? And I'll close with one other thing, and that is the proximity to Caldwell Community College. And many of you know that I have worked in a capacity where I'm pretty aware of what those offerings are, and the need for these children who have these difficulties to have tactile and to have the ability to work with things. And I was told that also it's hard for us to get students on to the pathway that they need to have because they're not there long enough. So guiding these students in the correct pathway, trying to help them figure out a way to be instructed and to use the proximity of the college would be a real plus. So I respect the fact that Mr. Church provided a drawing of where there's been so much thought and put into how this would be. And once a building is surplus, it's gone. And we could come back a year from now, or more than that, and declare a building surplus. We can't help these students that are so vulnerable and need us so much if it's past its time in a year. So I would respectfully ask my colleagues to consider looking again at your previous plan and why that plan was put into place. And as I said, I wasn't part of that discussion, but just hearing the ways that we can work to help our children is something that I feel I was hired to do as a person working on the board. And a building gone is a building gone and a lost opportunity. Thank you for letting me speak.
And we asked for input from the school system, and we received input from the school system. We received input from transportation on the tremendous savings, not only dollar saving, but instructional time saving, having that school closer in. Input from the administrator of all the opportunities that he believes could be provided those students, and from student services on how we can best meet the needs of those students. So we've received valuable input from those three entities within the school system.
But one of the things that I think we also know about the building itself is because of the age of the building, the fact that it's two-story, which can, but we know how teenagers are. It can make it hard to keep up with what's going on. Just the general square footage of the building and the layout for the students is somewhat problematic. It's not, you know, the absolute deal breaker. One of the things about the current location that's a real plus is the outside space that they have, which does give them some opportunities, and many of these students have taken advantage of the greenhouse and some other outside building projects which they have done there. I think we need to continue to work with the community college and our other stakeholders to see what is the best way that we can serve these students. But the bottom line for these students is we don't plan for them to stay at Gateway. The reason for them going to Gateway is to hopefully get back on track academically, socially, whatever their needs happen to be, so that they can return to our traditional high schools and then be able to take advantage of all the opportunities that there are. And that's really, that was why Gateway was established in the first place, is to try and help these students get on a positive track so that they can complete their high school education and hopefully go on, whether it's community college or military or a four-year college. But this is our goal for those students.
And I think that's a good goal, and I appreciate you mentioning that. You've given me a chance to find my note that I had written about the child that's on the bus, 136 minutes. And that doesn't count the shuttle time. And the other one is that 21% of the discipline problems they've been able to identify statistically occur on the bus. And if we reduce that time on a bus and give them a viable program where they can work within the proximity of that community, I think we'll see a lot of other things improve. And Ms. Darcy, thank you, because I do think our goal is to get those children back to the appropriate place. But we all realize the uphill battle we have when these students are facing so much.
Ms. Darcy mentioned the
others.
age of the building. This information we received this week, I believe the Gateway building is 1921 building, and the Horizons building 1948.
Actually, the Gateway building burned down, and so it was rebuilt in 1996. Parts of it.
89.
Yeah, there's still lots of the old building.
80.
96, Carol, was what the records show?
Well, I'm just getting this from the information we received by email this week.
Yeah, evidently there was a fire. Parts of the building burned.
Long time ago, there was a white building.
But it's
out
still
there,
very
wasn't
old
there?
building.
So,
They both are.
The smart boards, the phones, I noticed that many things have been left intact in the current Hudson building, which again leads me to think that there was some real forethought in what you were trying to do that. And I know those bathrooms are new in that gym. I believe you mentioned that the day that we went around. And so I just feel strongly that it would be in the best interest of the students to give them an opportunity to be on the Hudson site, to let the principal see if he can implement his vision and goals and direction, because he's put so much time into it. And if it doesn't work, we can always revisit, but we can't revisit a building that's surplus.
And even if we can't move Gateway to that building, I'm worried about rushing to release this building when there could be lots of opportunities to use this building for in the future. About a third of our 8th graders apply to go to early or middle college. No. Would there ever be a need for another alternative high school there? Would there ever be a need for a science center site there? Would we ever want a magnet school there to maybe pull in some of the 1,000 students who are being homeschooled or private school in our county? But like Ann says, once it's gone, it's gone.
Dr. Church, I understand that the Facilities Committee dealt with this issue in early January,
Yes, we toured the facility after.
and there was
the
a
work session.
meeting and a vote at that time, because I think that was on our January agenda, if I'm not badly mistaken. It was on our January agenda to vote on that at that time.
It was, and then we tabled it.
That's
It was
right.
on- yes,
That's right.
That was
yes, sir.
February.
Because there hadn't been a meeting. Yeah.
Because Joe was out
Yes.
of town.
Yeah.
Yes,
But
sir.
there had been a meeting prior to that of the Facilities Committee, and they voted on it at that time.
We did not vote. The Facilities Committee
I don't
did
have
not
those
vote.
minutes.
Well, I wasn't there either.
No.
You know, I
But I have some
understand
minutes, but
that
not
it
those.
was
No,
a unanimous
Facilities
vote.
Committee did not vote.
What's the,
That would have been back in, probably
Not-
before, when Ms. Coffey was still on the facilities committee. I would have to go back and look at my
Okay.
minutes on that. I can't answer that question right
Okay.
now. But that, it would have been back in October, November, if that was the case.
any other discussion? Okay, the recommendation from Dr. Church is to declare the Horizons building in Hudson as surplus property. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No?
No.
And motion passes.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Church?
Next item on the agenda is the Facilities Committee has been leading the selection committee for our architect, and I'm going to turn this part of the agenda over to our Facilities Chair, Ms. Darcy.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Church. The Facilities Committee last month heard 3 very fine presentations from architectural firms with a lot of great ideas for both of the potential sites that were being considered for Granite Falls Middle School. The Facilities Committee was particularly impressed with the extensive experience in renovation and reuse of buildings demonstrated by McKissick Associates, and were also very impressed by the staff member who addressed issues such as traffic flow, parking issues, and so forth. And I think Ms. Costin knows exactly what we're talking about there. The recommendation of the Facilities Committee is to award the architectural contract to McKissick Associates.
And that comes as a recommendation from the Facilities
Yes.
Committee, and does not need a second. Any comments? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Look forward to working with y'all.
You guys want to stand up and introduce yourself? The Soups?
I'm Wayne Roberts, I'm architect in McKissick Associates. Robert McKissick with McKissick Associates. Ben Crum with McKissick Associates. Both should be seated.
Great.
Good to see you.
That is if we get funding. That's still a big hurdle, so
Right,
we'll
right, keep our fingers crossed here.
welcome and we're glad you're here.
Next item.
And during the architect selection approval process, the team also determined, has the recommendation for the site of the new school. Turn it over to Ms.
Okay,
Darcy.
and one of the things that was very evident during the presentations by all 3 firms was that building a school on the Grace Chapel site was going to cost several, as in $7 or $8 or $9 million more than rebuilding and adding to the current site. This was primarily because of issues like the need to establish infrastructure such as water and sewer, grading, stormwater management, building ball fields. There's also an issue with the way the road curves right where the buses would probably be coming in and out of the school. So this would obviously be an issue that had to be dealt with DOT. So the recommendation of the Facilities Committee is to renovate and build on the current site of Granite Falls Middle School.
Okay, recommendation from the Facilities Committee, does not need a second. Any comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Church, appreciate it. Next, call on our Director of Finance, Mr. David Johnson.
One question about the surplus property.
Mhm.
What does that mean and what are next steps?
The next steps will be to offer it to the county. Any school property that is surplus has to be offered to the county. Once we receive a formal notice from the county that they do not have an interest in it, at that point, we can put it out for, see if anybody has an interest. And it
So
would be
like-
open. It's not specifically targeted toward the town of Hudson, even though they've expressed an interest. It would be open to whoever could.
So do we put a starting bid? Is it closed bid?
We have to determine a fair market value of what we would expect or what we would want out of the building. So before we even can move much further, the county commissioners have to send us a formal notice that they have no interest in the building. And at that point, we'll move forward with the process. And Jeff, you may want to kind of explain that at the next board meeting, what that process looks like.
So it won't
Or
be
we,
sold
or would you
before
like,
next
to-
time?
no. The county will have to vote on it. And if they don't vote on it until January, you know, so it's the next step. So we'll send a formal letter to the county tomorrow. That's true for all school property that we have to offer to them.
Mr. Johnson?
Okay. Mr. Chairman, board members, and Dr. Stone, I have exhibit number 10 tonight, which is the annual audit contract, which is required by the local government commission before auditors can start any work. The auditors, again, will be Boggs, Crump, and Brown, same as we've used the last several years. The audit contract is in the same amount of $34,000. I say same amount, that was the amount that originally, but due to being selected by the retirement system to perform an additional audit, the audit was a little bit more than $34,000 last year, but the annual audit will be $34,000 again this year. I'd like to recommend that the audit contract to be approved is submitted. I think it's in your packet for Boggs, Crump, and Brown.
Do y'all hear a motion that we approve the annual audit contract as presented by Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Chairman, make the motion that we approve the audit contract for Boggs, Crump, and Brown as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? I think they've done a good job, and I think we can all agree. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, the second thing I have tonight is exhibit number 11, which includes two budget amendments. One is for the State Public School Fund. It's in the amount of $298,561. And these are changes and additions to summer reading camps and developmental day school money. Also, budget amendment number 14, which is for the federal grant fund. It's in a total of $15,019. These recommendations, if approved tonight, will bring the total budget for Caldwell County Schools to $121,405,199.81.
Do I hear a motion that we approve the State Public School Fund budget amendment as well as the federal grant fund as presented by Mr. Johnson?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Mr. Johnson's recommendation for budget amendments to the State Public School Fund and the Federal Grant Fund as presented.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And motion passes.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Johnson, we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Dr. Stone, you have an announcement? to
I've
make
got a
here?
couple of quick ones. As you know, this is the first year that we've had to go an early release day on Good Friday. So I'm sure that if you following Facebook, there are a couple of folks who are upset with that, and I truly do understand that. And in your calendar that you approved for next year, it is a holiday, or it's a day off for those. So we are doing an early release day. Students will get out around 11:30 or noon. Teachers will follow soon thereafter, and then once the buses have been accounted for, we'll let the principals go, and then the Ed Center will close, I think, that day around 3 o'clock. So, and let me just say too, because I know you may get questions about it, or you may get some people saying why. The bottom line is that we just didn't catch it. It came through last year when we were doing the calendar, and it never was commented to any of us before we approved the calendar, unless you all got comments that we didn't. So it's an honest mistake. It's not that we're in any way disregarding Good Friday. It's just an honest mistake that we didn't catch it. So now that it's front and center, we will certainly move along with it. It would be unwise at this point to mess with it because people have made the plans and those kinds of things. So I apologize, I didn't catch it. So if someone questions you about it, it really was quite an honest mistake that we not in any way infringing upon it. And we do hope by getting out early and letting staff go early that they can begin to involve themselves in those religious activities that go on Good Friday. The other thing I want to mention is the Change for Children campaign, which is the school system's efforts to help Robin's Nest, is going on from April 3rd to April 13th. We are collecting change in all of our school buildings to try to help Robin's Nest. And if you're not familiar with Robin's Nest, it last year saw over 200 of our kids who had been sexually or physically or mentally abused. And this money we collect will go toward a counseling program to help those children recover and move on with their lives, kind of to hopefully to try to help them regain the childhood innocence that's been taken away from them. Also this week we have the extravaganza, the electric extravaganza with Blue Ridge Electric sponsoring that. That is at the Horizons building, so if you can go anytime this week. We have our 4th graders who will be there from 8:30 to 10:30, and then the second group will be from 11:30 until 1:30. It's at the Horizons building. I think they are one or both floors, so that's going on with the Blue Ridge Electric. This is the second year that they've done that, where they're teaching all of our 4th graders electric safety, and quite interesting. Patterson Science Center has a component of that as well. I am formally notifying the board that we are not going to require the students for that makeup day, since it's not, we're probably beyond the snow. We're going to forgive that one student makeup day that we missed. The last thing I want to mention is to keep your eye on the North Carolina Senate. We have 2 bills that deal with calendar flexibility. HB 389, which is a pilot program for 20 rural school districts to have 3 years flexibility with their calendars, that you can start school the Monday closest to August the 10th, finish school by the Friday closest to June the 11th. We are one of the 20 school districts in that pilot. That, by the way, has passed the House on all 3 readings, and actually has made it in the Senate past 1 reading, which is very unusual because the Senate usually sends it to a dead committee. The other one is HB 375, which gives all 115 school districts the ability to align their calendar to the community college. That one has made the 2nd reading in the House. It has 1 more reading, and then it will make its way over to the Senate. The most promising is that first one, or the pilot, because really, truly, we have never had a calendar bill make it even that far into the North Carolina Senate. So if that were to pass, it gives us the flexibility either next year or the year after to modify our calendar. Of course, at this point, you've approved the calendar, so we won't mess with next year's calendar. We'll choose the option of the following year, 18, 19. So it's promising. So one of our goals that we've always talked about was to try to give us some flexibility with the community college calendar. That's it, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Stone.
One more thing. The task force on the poverty, once we finish with advanced ed, we're going to jump on that full time. So you'll be hearing from us. Thank you.
Okay, next is board reports. Have down Tim Hawkins and Joe Sims. Certainly, if anybody else has something to say in regards to that, then that'd be great. Tim, you want to start us off?
Certainly. It was definitely a joy to be able to go and to be able to share in the sessions, not only the general session speakers, but also in the pull-out sessions, and several of those. One I found that was extremely interesting, especially in light of what Dr. Stone just said. Talked about high poverty schools, and I love one of the quotes that was used, and it simply says this: some say we can't fix education until we fix poverty. It's actually the exact opposite. We can't fix poverty until we fix education. And I know that's a paradigm shift, but when you start thinking about that. And some of the strategies that were shared, and one of the key strategies was engaging the parents. That is key when it comes to taking these children that are in these high poverty schools or high poverty school districts and making them be high flyers, making them be high achievers. But some of the other strategies that were shared, one is to ask questions, which these are probably some of the questions we're going to be asking as we start looking at these high poverty schools. Some of those questions are we leveling the playing field for students who live in poverty? You know, could it be that we need to provide extra help, small group, individual tutoring, self-paced interventions? Another strategy was relying on data and the importance of data. And when I say the importance of data, taking that data and being able to use it and meet students where they are, and then being able to move them and to be able to chart their progress. And then one of the last strategies that was shared was building relationships, especially with the parents. In other words, having a whatever it takes attitude. You know, if parents are unresponsive to outreach, then keep trying, whether it be through home visits or school events, inviting those parents to come and be a part of their child's life. I'll quickly move on here. I think Mr. Sims is going to share on Mr. Kelly, right? Okay. But one of the things, hopefully I won't steal one of your quotes, but
There was a bunch of good ones.
oh yeah, there's a lot of good ones. But one of the ones that I liked simply said this: if you want to make a difference, he said, don't be afraid to do things that are hard. In other words, step out. Do things that we think might be beyond our capability. And we'll see what happens there. One of the other general session speakers was Ariana Huffington. And I don't know if you've heard that name, but you've probably heard of Huffington Post, okay? She was a founder of that. And I thought one of the things, in trying to understand what she said with her accent, one of the things that I think was important is because she was a very self-driven person, and you know, a lot of people feel like that you know, that success is defined by the paradigm of money and power. But she actually flipped that on its head, and she said 10 years previously, you know, being self-driven and driving and trying to succeed, she collapsed. She said it was too much. And so one of the things that she emphasized, which is good for all of us, I'm thinking of myself and all of us, and she said this, she said, take time off to disconnect and to recharge, because that's essential to good leadership. And she went on to share that that's harder than ever to do because of technology, 24/7. And so I've tried to do that when I come home, you know, no matter what time, taking my phone and laying it aside. So if you call me, I probably won't answer. It'll be on voicemail. But just connecting with myself, connecting with my family, and connecting with others. And I think that is very important as we move forward as leaders in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins.
You
Appreciate
only
it.
stole one line of it.
Oh, just one. Okay.
Your turn, Jen.
But the opportunity to get to go to different sessions and work not workshops, but to gather information, you could choose what you wanted, which I thought was really good. You know, everything that we get to do is to try to make us a better board, better people, to make better decisions. And you know, you can go anywhere from I went sat in one where the entire district was a district that was in poverty, and they talked about, they didn't really talk that much about the actual school itself. They talked about the involvement of getting the stakeholders involved, the community, to draw not only the students to want to come, but the parents to want to come and make it easier for them, you know, different avenues there. But I sat in a lot of different ones considering the CTE stuff, and it was really a lot of innovation that was going on in what they were doing, the different programs, and honestly, a lot of the things, there's things we could do to grow, but a lot of things that they were doing, we were already implementing, which I felt good about, because not that we don't need to continue growing forward, but we have got some good things going. But moving on to the session that I was going to speak about was Captain Scott Kelly. For those that don't know, he was the one that spent 1 year on the space station, but he had also spent a half a year prior to that. So he spent It was almost 500 days total that he had been at the space station at different times. But just some of the things that I took, and he said, he said, talk about doing the hard things, and you got to focus on what you can control. Some things we think we can control, but we can't. And he talked about setting goals. He said, set lofty goals, but set small, manageable tasks that you can reach those big goals. It's easy to set the big goal, but he says break it down into small, manageable tasks to where you can get to the point where you want to be at. And not only as a person he was talking about, because he talked about his public school education, and he was not the model student you would think an astronaut was going to be. He had his struggles in school, but that just goes to show that he proved that he worked, he set those goals, he decided, I'm not going to say where he decided he wanted to be an astronaut at, but he was in the first grade, if y'all remember, where he said he was standing beside somebody and said, I'm going to be an astronaut too. But he says to choose stuff that you can work hard to attain and make yourself, work towards those goals. And then constantly make small corrections to get better. But the two things that I put down here, it says, to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower, is one. And the second was teamwork makes the dream work, which I thought was very good.
Anyone else?
Before you leave, the April 24th interviews with the attorneys, that had to be canceled because two of the attorneys could not make it, so we'll reschedule. But you still need to be here at 9 for the interviews with the advanced ed folks. So we'll reschedule as early as we can. I'll look at your calendars. We need to do it on a Monday morning, so I'll be shooting you a date probably tomorrow, see if you can do that. We have 3 candidates, and then we'll have lunch and talk about it. So but I'd like to present that in May, the name of the candidate for school board attorney. Ed, sorry, you got to work with us another month. Also, you have in front of you the PowerPoint that Dr. Burns and her staff put together for advanced ed. If you have not been able to make one of the sessions, and thank you very much for those who made them. I know those who work full-time is a little harder, but they did a great job in putting that together, and we look forward to the team being here starting at April 23rd on Sunday night. So, thank you very much.
Do I hear a motion we adjourn?
I'll move we adjourn.
All right, is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And we are adjourned. Happy Easter to everyone.
Mr. McKissick, you want to come around and